Welcome back to Thomas Plays Europa Universalis 4, the Najd Jihad Achievement Run. We return to Najd after just defeating the Ottomans and finally taking Constantinople, thoroughly decapitating the Ottomans, and getting ourselves one step closer to the Dar al-Islam achievement, in addition to just generally growing Najd to progress the Jihad achievement. Not wanting to sit on my accomplishments, I noticed that Gujarat has no allies anymore. After defeating Gujarat in my last war against them and the Ottomans together, it seems that something happened and they broke their alliance with the Ottomans. I used this opportunity to expand more into India, gaining more of the powerful trade nodes there, and getting more fodder for provinces to convert. I purposely refrained from calling the Timurids into this war at the start. The last time I attacked Gujarat, I wasn't able to take a contiguous section of land from the original province I had to the new ones I was gaining, because the Timurids was occupying them. I want to avoid this, so I only call in allies who I know won't get in the way of my capturing the northern Gujarat region. With my nation's significant troop advantage and all my allies in the war, I defeat Gujarat very quickly and take the entire western coast of India. The Ming fell apart in this game, and Wu seems to be their successor. At some point, Russia decided to pick a fight with the new Emperor of China, and appears to be losing. I dismiss Russia as an ally. They're no longer helpful against the Ottomans, they're too far from Spain or France to really be helpful, and only powerful and relevant allies to fight the leftover major European powers. After the Gujarat War, I'm at 395 provinces. I'll need to convert a few of them, but that puts me only 105 provinces away from the Jihad achievement. I also take the time, after the war, to check my power balance against a number of different countries. Comparing my navy against Spain, it appears that I have a better navy, though we know now pure numbers are not enough to ensure victory on the open seas. In terms of army power, Spain has about 50,000 more troops than I do, and France has almost 100,000 more troops. To attack France, I'll need to grow more powerful and secure an alliance bloc that I know will be able to help in fighting them, just like I was able to do against the Ottomans way back in episode 2. After I had ditched Russia as an ally, I picked up both Great Britain and the Netherlands. Allying these two countries, who historically had amazing navies, gave me the confidence to go after Spain a second time. After the wars against the fetishist countries in Africa, I had upgraded the fort infrastructure to ensure that I wouldn't get sieged in a whole bunch of provinces again, at least not right away if I ignore a region for a little bit. I sent about 30,000 troops to the south to siege South Africa and 150,000 to North Africa. I hope with this force concentration, my relatively large navy, and the assistance of Great Britain and the Netherlands Navy, that I'll be able to take Spain out and not have to deal with their giant colonial nation network. I do a slow and steady push through Tunis, making sure that none of my armies get overextended, and I always have significant backup to help in case any armies try to attack my sieging stacks. Even with all my planning, I completely forgot I had provinces in the Spice Islands, and Spain did not, though if they're willing to keep 50,000 troops on the other side of the world, that'll make the war significantly easier for me in Northern Africa and Europe. I make steady progress through Tunis, sieging the whole country and eventually their capital, without having to fight any major battles. I push my armies into North African Spain and see one of Spain's doomstack. I outnumber the 90,000 troops, though I have my armies split between a fort in Spanish North Africa and the province Tunis. I capture Tunis and do a little bit of a dance with Spain while I'm working on sieging one of their forts, though eventually my dance partner tires and decides to send their 169,000 stack against the full brunt of my forces. It's 150,000 Najd warriors versus 169,000 Spaniards. Spain controlled the fort, so they get the terrain advantage, which gives us a -1 roll against them. Our general is better, a 3-star versus a 2-star, though worse morale, discipline, and slightly worse tactics. Eventually, my forces are worn down by Spain, and I'm forced to retreat. We lost about 40,000 troops in this battle, and Spain lost about 32,000. So Spain will gain the momentum by winning this battle, but the losses on each side are relatively similar, and I started with a higher manpower pool than Spain did, so I can afford to take more battles like this. I pull my armies back to eastern Tunis to allow them time to recover and replenish, and take a look at the ledger to see how Spain's doing. I notice they only have 17,000 manpower in the pool, and only about 25,000 more troops than I do. So I think at this point, the best decision that I can make is to attempt to continually fight grindy and costly battles against Spain, hoping to wear them out and eventually break their armies down. As a side note, New Spain has 100,000 troops. I am very happy that the combined Najd, Great Britain, and Dutch navies are able to keep the Spanish colonial nations away from the Old World. After replenishing my navies, I send my armies forward to attack one of the Spanish armies sieging a fort in Tunis. This time I get the terrain advantage, although my general is not as good compared to theirs as it was. So overall our armies even out, with the Spanish army having better morale. I lose this battle, similar to the first, but inflict massive casualties on the Spanish army. After that second grindy battle, we can see that Spain is now in manpower debt. The only way they'll be able to get new troops now is by slackening standards, hiring mercenaries, or waiting for the very, very slow, less than 1% growth of your manpower pool every month. I get my army to regroup and then attack Spain a third time. After a few months' battle and causing another 30,000 casualties for Spain, I retreat my army and regroup for another battle. At this point, every battle I fight, my army stays the same size, and the Spanish armies get smaller and smaller. Eventually, they're going to crack. Whether by grinding the Spanish armies down, or by causing enough damage that Spain wants to retreat some of their forces, I eventually outnumber the Spanish in North Africa by about 60,000. At this point, I'm able to engage the Spanish forces in Tunis and successfully defeat them. Unless Spain is able to muster more forces in North Africa and Europe, this war should just be a matter of sieging the rest of the country. The grindy battles with Spain have also taken a toll on my manpower. I only have about 10,000 men in the bank, and I need to replenish at least that many. Not to mention all the extra forces that I'll lose going through to siege Spain and fighting off any extra armies Spain manages to muster. Presumably, seeing that my manpower is low, France decides to attack my ally the Netherlands. Naturally, I decline. My hands are full fighting Spain. I don't think I could beat Spain and France at the same time. I make slow and careful progress through North Africa, eventually making it into vanished Morocco. I'm able to siege Morocco unimpeded and eventually get Ceuta. With my alliance's combined navy being stronger than Spain's, Ceuta was the last thing preventing my armies from getting into Iberia. Now my forces can stream into Spain's core lands. Spain had changed tactics and actually went to siege my lands in the Congo. They broke down one fort and are making their way slowly through sub-Saharan Africa. Although as they do that, I'm sieging Iberia much faster than they can siege any of my lands. As I'm about halfway through sieging Iberia like the caliphates of old, I get my first message that there's a coalition forming against me. Coalitions can form if there's 3 or more countries with 50 points of aggressive expansion on your country, and they have opinion less than 50. Coalitions will only form if countries think that the combined potential coalition is actually going to be stronger than your nation. Since my nation has been weakened by fighting Spain in so many grindy battles, the potential coalition that could form might be strong enough to win a war against me, or at least slow my expansion down, neither of which I would like at this point in the game, being so close to both of my achievement goals. A country cannot join a coalition against you if it has a truce with you. Knowing this, I attack the Ottomans again, not because I have anything ready to actually defeat them quickly, but just because I know they're weak, and they're very likely to join the coalition if I don't jump on them soon. Trusting that my forts and my allies will be able to take care of the Ottomans, I prepare myself to attack Portugal. My army is already in the area, and Portugal's only major ally is Spain. So, since I'm already at war with Spain, they won't be able to join a second war with Portugal, which means I might be able to snag the West African province required for Dar al-Islam without having to go through a second war with Spain. Portugal's only major army is a 30 stack sitting in Iberia. I'm able to muster my forces and take them out. Now it's just a matter of sieging Portugal's land, hopefully keeping any colonial nation armies at bay, and then piecing out for the province that I want. Thankfully, both Spain and Portugal's colonial nations are on the other side of the world from all my core territories, and the navies that I have are enough to keep them at bay. So even though I'm in 3 wars, I only have to fight a small fraction of each of the alliance blocks at a time. Here's my coalition intuition was right on the money. Since the Ottomans can't join the coalition, Gujarat eventually decides to leave, meaning the coalition collapses. For this kind of achievement run, where you're looking for an achievement that doesn't require you to push a nation for everything it's worth, there should be no need to fight a coalition war as long as you're planning accordingly. After completely crushing Portugal's main army and taking their capital, I eventually pieced them out for just a little bit of money and the province in West Africa, Ifni. This puts us one step closer towards unifying Islam. Now that I have my province from Portugal, I can go to peace out Spain. Since I declared war on Spain through Tunis, I'm not able to take everything that I want. So I settle for the province that I need for the achievement, a few extra provinces on the far side of Iberia, and provinces on either side of the Strait of Gibraltar. Since I can't crush Spain completely with this peace deal, I at least want to make it more difficult for them to travel between Africa and Europe, and hopefully reduce the amount of money they make from the Sevilla trade node as well. I then peace out Tunis for the entirety of the coast. I piece Spain out late in the year so that the aggressive expansion that I incur from taking the Spanish provinces ticks down slightly on the new year. I don't want to have another coalition forming. Then I set my sights towards defeating the Ottomans. I stack wipe the entire Ottoman army, siege up Anatolia, and then propose a peace deal, taking the entire northern coast of Anatolia, plus a little bit extra. I take this land to make sure that any of the other lands in the Middle East and Asia Minor that the Ottomans have can't easily be taken by anyone else that might jump on them now that they're weak. I rival France, and as Venice jumps on Ottomans yet again, we can take a look at the achievement progress so far. I'm only missing 4 provinces for Dar al-Islam. The 2 provinces in Sicily, the 1 province in the Caucasus, and the 1 province in Timurids. And I'm also at 425 provinces of the 500 needed for the Jihad achievement. Only a few more wars and conversions now. Looking at the ledger to see how my new rival France and I stack up, We can see that my standing army is 187,000 troops, not too shabby, although France has a standing army of 380,000 troops. France more than doubles my standing army. I will definitely need help to take them on. To get the province in the Caucasus that I need, I attack Ardabil. I had been holding off on attacking Ardabil because the Timurids were guaranteeing their independence. The Timurids are still guaranteeing their independence, so unfortunately, I have to end the alliance with my oldest and best ally in this game. I was going to have to attack them anyway to get the province I need in their country, but it's still a bittersweet moment, losing such a loyal ally. While I was focusing on Ardabil, I thought that I would be able to just leave the Timurids to Delhi. Unfortunately, I completely forgot about the strait crossing off the coast of Hormuz. The Timurids used that to get onto the Arabian Peninsula. It seems my old friend had a few tricks up his sleeve. I had thought I had built forts on all access points the Timurids could use, but I completely ignored the strait crossing. I should have brought my navy over to stop the Timurids. At least in the north, my army is able to defeat the Timurids as they're trying to siege southern Iraq. I can now send my forces onto the Arabian Peninsula to push the enemy armies off. For the first time in nearly 150 years, my capital is under siege. I quickly push the small expeditionary force off of my capital, and then begin the process of chasing the Timurids and their allies off of the former Hormuz land. With over 115,000 Najd troops, the armies quickly attempt to retreat, running all the way around the coast. The first battle goes relatively poorly, as I attempt to engage with just a mercenary stack against the whole 110,000 invasion force. The follow-up battles go significantly better. I manage to catch a 30 stack with my real army and stack wipe them, before I follow up with an attack against the rest of the forces. With a combination of a better general and better ideas leading to better troops, I am able to defeat the Timurid armies. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up the invasion force. After I had cleaned up the first invasion force, I sent my armies back north to deal with other problems, and the Timurids attempt to invade through the Straits of Hormuz again. At this point, I'm finally fed up with dealing with these problems, so I make the decision to just send my navy all the way around Africa to actually get here. It takes almost a year for a navy to sail around Africa, so I was hoping to avoid this, but clearly it is necessary. Once my armies finally do show up to push the Timurids back across the Strait of Hormuz, the Timurids decide to play Ring Around the Wasteland instead of fighting me, so I end up having to chase them down all the way to the Horn of Africa. My navy finally arrives all the way from the Mediterranean to defeat the Timurids' navy and block their armies from crossing the Straits of Hormuz. While my navy is defeating the Timurids' navy, we actually manage to capture their flagship. This gets me the first achievement of this entire run, Trophy Hunter. Shortly afterwards, I pieced the Timurids out, taking their entire coast and making them a landlocked nation. I'll have to declare war on the Timurids again in the future to take the province I need for the achievement. Since I know I'm on a collision course with France, I decided to start my golden era now. Mostly I started for the increased morale of armies, making my armies even stronger. Somehow the Commonwealth hasn't stopped getting into stupid wars. They're fighting both Spain and Russia at the same time right now, in 2 separate wars. Thankfully I don't need them for anything right now, so I'm just content to leave them and hope they don't wear themselves out too much. I peace out with Ardabil, taking lands in the Caucasus that will connect up to the province that I need for the achievement. Another step closer, only 3 provinces to go to unify Islam. Interestingly, while cleaning up Gujarat, I managed to capture their capital ship as well. I played this game for thousands of hours, and this game was the first one I've captured an enemy ship, and it happened twice, only a few years apart. I fight a quick and easy war with Gujarat, taking nearly the entire south of India. Then I fight another war with the Ottomans. At this point, the Ottomans are only an enclave of Najd, just waiting to be subsumed. I take all but 4 provinces from the Ottomans. Then I check France's standing army. I've increased my standing army from 187,000 to 215,000, but France has increased theirs from 380 or so thousand to 438,000. July 19th, 1699, and I take a moment to check the achievement progress for the Jihad achievement, and I can see I have 499 Sunni provinces of the 500 required. Waiting just 1 month later, and I convert the last province required, obtaining the Jihad achievement. It's been a long road coming from 1444 to almost 1700, but Najd, now among the premier world powers, having removed the historic enemy of the Ottomans, and finally spread Islam across the world. Now all that's left to do is unify it. Now that I have the Jihad achievement, I can focus all my efforts on getting the last 3 provinces I need to unify Islam. My first step is building up an anti-France alliance bloc. I ditch Bengal as they keep pulling me into random wars in China, and then pick up Austria and Scandinavia, both of whom are not allied with France. The anti-France coalition that I'm putting together should contain Najd, Scandinavia, Great Britain, Commonwealth, and Austria. I'll keep Delhi as an ally because they're useful against the Timurids. Speaking of, Delhi and I go to war with the Timurids again. The war plan will be to allow Delhi to wear the Timurids down and siege from the eastern side of the country, while I push slowly and carefully north through current-day Iran, until I get enough war score to take everything I need to get the province I require for the achievement. Much of the Timurids' lands are mountains in the areas that I have to go through, so I need to be extra careful not to waste a lot of manpower or take combats that are severely to my disadvantage. The first battle against the Timurids occurs in dry lands with no terrain advantage to either side, with roughly 70,000 troops on each side. I divert some of my armies as reinforcements, though the Timurids' reinforcements are much closer. After a hard-fought battle, my army comes out on top, though in the follow-up, Timurids are able to defeat my army. But I have much more than just 60,000 men, so as the Timurids pushes back one army, there are 2 more making progress on either side of their country. I'm able to win a third, and this time decisive victory, in another evenly matched battle against the Timurids. This, combined with the fact that I've sieged most of the southern forts, means that I can push forward with all of my armies into the Timurids' northern territories, and combine my forces. From here, the war should be a foregone conclusion. All I need to do is peace out Bengal, then peace out the Timurids for everything that I want. With that last peace deal with the Timurids, there's only 2 provinces left, both of them on the island of Sicily, controlled by France. As I'm preparing for war with France, I take a brief detour to completely eliminate the Ottomans. Farewell Ottomans, you won't be missed. And then I begin the process of attempting to convince all the allies that I want to fight France that fighting France is a good idea. Both Great Britain and Austria would join me in a war against France, though Scandinavia and Commonwealth are a little hesitant. Scandinavia can be convinced by just improving my trust with them, which is easy to do as I've been allied with them for many decades at this point. The Commonwealth, as is usual for the Commonwealth in this game, needs to be bankrolled by me in order to be willing to join a war. So I send the Commonwealth 4,000 gold. I then pick up Defender of the Faith to increase my army prowess even more, in preparation to fight France, and then I send the Commonwealth 4,000 more gold 2 years after the first gift, because they didn't pay off their debt the first time. The second gift does result in them paying off their debt. And now, my 4 major European allies are all willing to fight France with me. I amassed nearly 200,000 troops in Tunis, enough transport ships to move 3 38 stacks at a time into the Mediterranean to land in Sicily, and 200 boats to defend those transports. With all my preparations in place and all my allies ready to attack, I declare war on France. I waste no time sending my 120,000 men amphibious landing force into Sicily. On paper, my alliance network has more troops and more boats than France, so we should be more powerful. France also has large colonial nations in the New World, so their power might be split between the New World and the Old. France has very powerful troops with a lot of morale, and also all of France's allies are present in Germany, which might make it easier to defend as they can all back each other up. We'll just have to see how the war goes. The French alliance bloc appears to be focusing the majority of their efforts on sieging Austrian lands in western Germany. Commonwealth and Austria are both amassing troops in Austria and fighting off Bohemia. Scandinavia is coming in from the north to assist Austria and Commonwealth. I have one army of mercenaries defending my territory in the Balkans, while my 200,000 troops continue to siege Sicily. Once my troops are done sieging Sicily, the plan is to come up from the bottom of Italy. I hire a second mercenary stack to help defend the Balkans better, and siege all of Sicily, sending my armies up to the south of Italy to siege through all the forts there. Italy is thin, so I won't be able to send any of my armies past any forts. I'll have to siege each one individually. Although that works perfectly fine for me, I'm more than happy to let my allies take the brunt of France's attacks, while I make my way up through Italy and then eventually am able to help them siege France proper, or relieve any sieges that France might be working on once I'm there. As I continue to make my way up through Italy, it seems my alliance has started to focus on western Italy and Provence as their targets. Since Austria is taking the brunt of all the sieges happening against us in this war, I decide to subsidize them. giving them almost 100 ducats a month so that they can hire mercenaries and hopefully send those troops around to fight any small sieges that might be happening in their country. I am now sieging Rome. Once I'm through Rome, I'll be able to get access through Tuscany and send my armies north to join and assist my alliance bloc. To make the war a little bit easier on myself and my allies, I piece out Bohemia. Rome falls, and with that, the way is now open for my armies in Italy to go north to relieve the sieges in Austria. Looking at the war screen, we can see that after piecing out Bohemia, and after a few years of the war, my alliance has almost double the active troops as France. The war should now just be a matter of not letting any of my allies get separate pieced out. The mercenary armies that I was keeping in the Balkans had cleared up the Salzburg troops that were there, so I sent them north to try to harass the French armies that were sieging Austria. If I can engage one sieging army with enough forces to make the enemy alliance bloc think that they might lose that battle, I find often they're willing to abandon other sieges just to win that battle. My plan works as more than 150,000 troops on the enemy side come to defeat my 75,000 mercenaries. The mercenaries, of course, lose, but the mercenary armies do not cost me any manpower to replenish, and as the French alliance bloc is fighting mercenaries, I'm able to continue pushing forward and siege the south of France. So far, France has been winning the battles, but losing the war. Using mercenaries to distract the enemy forces also has the added benefit of often pulling in your alliance partners to battles that they think are important. In a free-for-all game like Europa Universalis, making your allies fight battles for you, where they deplete themselves and deplete the enemy, can often be beneficial, especially if you don't need to use your ally for another war again anytime soon. Even more so if you're planning on attacking them in the future. Scandinavia came in to assist the mercenaries that I was having siege Salzburg in a battle. We won that battle, but more importantly than that, we were able to convince the 100-and-something thousand troops that were sieging Augsburg that had already broken the fort walls and were 7% positive towards completing the siege, all decided to break siege, go into Salzburg, and attack the joint mercenary and Scandinavian forces. At this rate, France won't be able to siege a single fort from Austria. As I'm continuing to siege the south of France, my navy manages to capture the French navy in the Adriatic, sinking the entire thing, including the French flagship. While this is all happening, the French alliance bloc decide to laser focus in on capturing Augsburg, sending over 150,000 troops to siege the province. Each of the stacks getting significant attrition as they all stand in the same province, and also having this huge opportunity cost to focus there rather than trying to spread out to get more sieges or defeat any of the armies sieging the French core territories. The Commonwealth, Austria, and Great Britain have managed to spread out across French territories. Using a gap in the French fort network that can be accessed by walking through Switzerland, allowing armies to run through the central territory of France, including to get onto Paris, which Great Britain has now sieged. Seeing that these three are doing a good job of sieging most of the remaining forts in the core French lands, I divert most of my armies north to try to relieve the siege of Augsburg before the France alliance is able to break it down. My 228,000 troops arrive around Augsburg, and I go to engage the French alliance in battle. There are 100,000 troops sitting in Augsburg, so we have the numbers advantage and the general advantage. The French side rolls high for the first few rolls, causing the battle to go initially well for them. But by the sheer weight of numbers, my army stands in long enough to eventually balance out those good rolls for them, and my side is victorious, losing only slightly more than 20,000 troops on my side to cause more than 40,000 losses on the French side, and relieving the siege of Augsburg. With the armies knocked out of Augsburg, I send most of my forces to deal with Salzburg, and a few of them to siege eastern France. I end up catching a Salzburg mercenary stack, and fight and win a reasonably sized battle in Austria. By this point in the war, we're very clearly winning, though France is not out of the picture yet. I managed to catch about 70,000 of my troops on the far east with a small stack and are able to bring reinforcements to bear before my army is able to defeat the tiny stack. Although I lose this battle, I do still cause a significant amount of casualties. And, although we could piece France out at this point in the war, what we're really doing now is trying to make France bleed. With Bohemia and a few of the other minor nations pieced out, the only major belligerents left in this war are Salzburg, France, and France's colonial nations. Ever since the battle in Augsburg, we've been able to separate Salzburg's army, keeping them contained in Salzburg, and France's army, keeping them in France. With this, my allies and I siege Salzburg, while I divert the rest of my forces to siege southern and eastern France to keep the French and Salzburg's armies separated. In pursuit of keeping France penned into France, while my armies make progress on sieging forts, I send my southern forces, about 80,000 troops, to attack a large French stack. I send this army in knowing full well that it will lose and likely cost me a lot of manpower, but it'll cause a lot of casualties on the French side, and delay the French forces, allowing my nation to siege the forts, and open the way for the rest of my forces to come in from the east. France has lost all their border forts on the south and east. The way is now open for all my allies to come in unimpeded and siege much of the remainder of France. All but 3 major armies that are sieging Salzburg now pour their way through these gaps, sweeping away the remainder of the French forces and beginning the process of sieging the last remaining fort. I'm finally able to siege down one of the Salzburg forts, exposing the army that has been hiding in the center of their country. Austria and I go in and eliminate the Salzburg army. Continuing my quest to hunt down every last French army I can find, I send one of my infantry stacks over to English Columbia to fight some 20,000 French troops there. Salzburg falls, and we can see that my allies are making quick work of the remaining French territory. This war is nearly over. I only need to deal with a few thousand more Frenchmen. I defeat and stack wipe the French armies in English Colombia, fight another 20 or so thousand in Najd, Spain, in the province of Cordoba, and then my allies defeat the remaining French army to push us over 1 million casualties on the French side. In this 6-year-long Najd French imperialist war, there have been almost 1.2 million losses on the Najd side, and 1.01 million losses on the French side. Now that we've reached these arbitrary milestones, I can piece France out for the islands of Sicily, Sardinia, and a small portion of southern Italy. And with this peace deal, I am victorious in a war with 1 million dead on each side, giving me the "We bled for this achievement." And now finally, with those new provinces I gained from France, I have all 14 of the required provinces to make the decision to unify Islam, changing my country to the Caliphate and giving me the Dar al-Islam achievement. But there are a few more things to do before I can say goodbye to Najd. First, I make the decision to form Arabia, changing my country from a lovely dark green to a wonderful puke green. Forming Arabia and controlling a large amount of the coffee provinces in the world allows me to obtain the Arabian Coffee achievement. I can take solace that in exchange for becoming an affront to the eyes, I was at least given an achievement. And then, through a combination of gifts, influence, and trading favors for trust, I increase the trust of my 5 final allies, Great Britain, Scandinavia, Austria, Commonwealth, and Delhi, to the maximum value of 100, giving me the trustworthy achievement for having 5 allies with 100 trust. And with that last achievement, we're at the conclusion of the Najd Jihad campaign. In this campaign, we managed to grow from a 3-province minor to the premier power in the world, removing the Ottomans and defeating the next 2 strongest countries, Spain and France. We obtained the Trophy Hunter achievement for capturing the Timurids' flagship, the Jihad achievement for spreading Islam to 500 Sunni provinces. We bled for this for fighting in a war against France with 1 million casualties on each side. Dar al-Islam for unifying Islam, Arabian Coffee for producing the most coffee in the world, and Trustworthy for having 5 allies with maximum trust. It has been a long and enjoyable campaign that I thought would be fun to share. I played this game while I was watching my newborn daughter during her naps and while I was recovering from illness, so it holds a special place in my heart. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. The Najd Jihad has concluded. really don't like that color.